The Galactic Youth Integration Center buzzed with the typical chaos of interspecies adolescence. Naz pressed herself deeper into the corner of the common area, her pale blue skin almost translucent with anxiety. Her large violet eyes darted nervously between the various alien teenagers socializing around her, but she couldn't bring herself to join any conversation. At 14 standard years old, Naz had spent the last 3 years at the center after her parents died in a mining accident on Kepler 442b. The Zephyrian girl had always been shy, but losing her family had transformed her natural introversion into crippling social anxiety. While other species mingled freely, sharing stories and forming friendships, Naz remained isolated, speaking only when absolutely necessary. James Martinez noticed her immediately when he arrived as the new human counselor. The 26-year-old had volunteered for the position after completing his xenopsychology degree, driven by humanity's recent integration into the galactic community. He'd read Naz's file extensively, brilliant academically, but struggling with severe social withdrawal that concerned even the center's most experienced staff. She barely speaks during group sessions, Dr. Keller, the Altarian head counselor, explained during James's orientation. We've tried everything: meditation, therapy, cognitive behavioral techniques adapted for Zephyrian neural patterns, even pharmaceutical interventions. Nothing seems to help her connect with others. James watched Naz from across the room, noting how she flinched whenever someone approached. Her tentacle-like hair appendages, which normally displayed emotional colors in healthy Zephyrians, remained a dull gray most of the time. It was heartbreaking. What about companion therapy? James suggested. Has anyone tried that approach? Dr. Keller's 4 eyes blinked in confusion. Companion therapy? I'm not familiar with that human term. James smiled. It's not exactly therapy in the clinical sense, more like friendship with a different species, something that doesn't judge or have expectations. That evening, James made several calls to Earth. 3 weeks later, a small transport ship arrived at the station with a very special cargo. Naz? James called softly, approaching her usual corner spot in the recreation area. Could I speak with you for a moment? The young Zephyrian looked up with wide, fearful eyes but nodded reluctantly. James sat down carefully, maintaining a respectful distance. I have something I'd like to show you, he said gently. But only if you're comfortable with it. There's no pressure. Naz's hair appendages flickered with the faintest hint of curious yellow before returning to gray. She nodded again, barely perceptibly. James reached into the carrier beside him and carefully lifted out a small, golden-colored puppy, a young Labrador retriever with impossibly soft fur and bright, intelligent eyes. The puppy looked around with typical canine enthusiasm, tail wagging furiously. Naz gasped, her hair appendages suddenly bursting into brilliant shades of wonder, deep purples and shimmering silvers that James had never seen her display. This is Luna, James explained quietly. She's from my home planet, Earth. Humans have been companions with her species for thousands of years. They're good at loving unconditionally. As if understanding perfectly, Luna gazed directly at Naz and let out a tiny friendly yip. The puppy's tail wagged harder and she took a tentative step forward. Naz had never seen anything like Luna. The creature was small, warm, and radiated a kind of pure joy that seemed to fill the space around them. When Luna approached without hesitation or judgment, Naz felt something shift inside her chest, a warmth she hadn't experienced since before her parents died. Can I touch her? Naz whispered, the first words James had heard her speak. She'd love that, James replied with a smile. Naz reached out with trembling fingers and gently stroked Luna's soft fur. The puppy immediately leaned into the touch, then boldly stepped closer and licked Naz's hand with her warm, pink tongue. The sensation made Naz giggle, actually giggle, for the first time in 3 years. Her hair appendages exploded into a rainbow of joy, bright yellows, warm oranges, and happy greens that made other teenagers across the room turn and stare in amazement. She likes me, Naz said wonderingly. Of course she does, James replied. Luna doesn't see species or worry about social rules. She just sees a friend. Over the following weeks, something remarkable happened. Luna became Naz's constant companion, following her to classes, sleeping curled up beside her at night and providing steady, non-judgmental affection. The puppy seemed to intuitively understand when Naz felt overwhelmed, appearing at her side with perfect timing to offer comfort. More importantly, Luna became a bridge. Other teenagers, initially drawn by curiosity about the strange earth creature, began approaching Naz to ask about her pet. For the first time, Naz found herself explaining things to others. Luna's care requirements, funny things the puppy had done, the concept of human-canine companionship. It's fascinating, she told James during one of their weekly sessions, Luna sleeping peacefully in her lap. Luna doesn't judge anyone. She treats the crystalline students the same as the Volatins, even though they're so different from us. James nodded encouragingly. What else have you noticed? Well, Naz's hair appendages shimmered thoughtfully. Maybe that's how I should try to see others too. Not as scary unknowns, but just as potential friends who happen to look different. 3 months later, Dr. Keller found James in his office reviewing progress reports. I don't know how you did it, the Altarian admitted, all 4 eyes wide with amazement. Naz just volunteered to help with the new student orientation program. She wants to help other shy newcomers feel welcome. Through the window, they could see Naz in the courtyard, surrounded by a diverse group of teenagers. She was animatedly telling a story, her hair appendages dancing with vibrant colors, while Luna played happily at her feet. The group erupted in laughter at something she said. Humans have a saying, James replied with a smile. Sometimes the best therapy has 4 legs and a wagging tail. Dr. Keller looked confused. I don't understand the correlation between appendage, quantity, and emotional healing. James chuckled. That's okay. Sometimes the most profound truths are the simplest ones. Love doesn't require complex psychology. Sometimes it just requires showing up with a warm heart and staying. As if hearing her name, Luna looked up from the courtyard and barked happily. Naz scooped her up, both girl and puppy, radiating pure contentment. Around them, a dozen different species of teenagers continued their animated conversation, united by the simple joy of friendship. In the end, it wasn't advanced alien therapy or sophisticated treatment protocols that helped Naz overcome her anxiety. It was something quintessentially human, the ancient understanding that sometimes healing comes not from complexity, but from the simple, unconditional love of a loyal companion who asks for nothing more than the chance to be by your side.